Well, hello my baby gorillas, and I'm back here at the Bamboo Palace. I mean, look at that, more bamboo than in the Panda Cage. As I said, those socialist architects had absolutely no taste. Watching a lot of stuff about the Glasgow postmodernist eyesore high-rise that they put all over Glasgow, that for about 50 years was an absolute stain, architectural stain in the landscape, and I don't think they've learned very many lessons from what they're actually putting up just now. So, what am we here to talk about? I thought I would have the theory of everything, certainly the political theory of everything, and where things are actually coming from and what's happening and why things are actually happening the way they're actually happening. And this may surprise you, may not, you may already know this, but I think it's important. Only once we actually identify what's happening and why it's happening and who's actually doing what to whom, then we will actually see why it's actually what's going on and the logic behind it. There was a phone in by a Scottish lady who phoned in to Mike, I can't remember his second name, in talk radio, that the UN, the United Nations, had written an article about the replacement of, which would be genocide, the deliberate replacement of people in the UK and Europe through the use of mass immigration. That was a UN document. Lucy Brown has also identified the document. She has actually done an article on it. We've also heard of the Collegiate Plan, which is, again, along the same lines as what's happened in the United Nations. Now, nobody's ever... The United Nations is a globalist body, a bit like the EU Council, who nobody has ever voted for the representation on it. And unless, obviously, it's an elected member of a democratic country, but nobody's voted for the people that are in the United Nations. And it seems that it only accounts for people who are in the West. It's not to replace anybody else. It's a deliberate anti-Western agenda. I mean, there's no atheist, white European atheist, who's now going to be the mayor of Mecca. There's no white atheist male, European white atheist male or female, doesn't matter, who's going to be the new mayor of Constantinople, or now Istanbul, because the people there were replaced as well. So why is it that the globalists and people who believe in a global order believe that people in a non-elected chamber such as the United Nations are able to dictate what the actual immigration policy is for a country? I mean, it's quite incredible. Why is the EU supporting the open door immigration from North Africa and the Middle East? So we have to look at what's actually happened. The Tories, it's the Tories that done it. The Tories have signed us up to the Barcelona process, the Union of the Mediterranean, probably from the large corporations. The large corporations, they might not even be British or from a British background. The British government has signed us up to allow the corporations access to North Africa and the Near East. It's called the Barcelona Process, was the first treaty, and the Union of the Mediterranean was the second treaty. And that allows freedom of movement, just the same, freedom of movement and a move towards the one world government and the one world currency. So this would be almost autocratic, where the people in the UN were not elected and the people in the EU Commission were not elected either. The majority of these were appointed, yet they, in the globalist mentality, are now able to dictate immigration policy to a country like Scotland. And there we see Nicola Sturgeon very much on the back as a globalist as well. She's backing the globalist agenda, also not only a globalist agenda, but also a Marxist agenda, which explains probably why Antifa has not been criminalised yet. It's not been made a criminal organisation, because obviously it uses violence, because Antifa are Marxists and the Marxists were globalists as well. A different type of globalism, but they still follow the globalist agenda. That they're a useful tool for the globalists. Now, the globalists who are in charge is not Antifa and the Marxist globalists, although the actual globalists that are in charge, who are the authoritarian liberal globalists, utilise other ideologies who are also globalist in their outlook to pursue the moves towards the one world government and the one world currency. And they'll utilise Antifa to stop any critical opposition. It's not against the fascists and Nazis, it's against any opposition at a local, national level to the moves towards a one world government and open borders, while at the same time not actually getting any sort of discussion internally within a country to see if they want that. It's just imposed. The open borders is imposed. We've already seen, like, if you look at the other side, like the anarcho-capitalist. The anarcho-capitalist, again, would be supported by the Koch brothers, who also believe in open borders. So you've got the anti-fascist, or the anarcho-syndicalist and the anarcho-communist. And obviously on the right side of the libertarian side of the spectrum, useful idiots that are the anarcho-capitalists, who also believe in open borders and no regulation and free movement and the displacement of people, which again would become a genocide, because if you are from the UN's genocide terms, the replacement of one a group of people with another is genocide, is the definition of genocide. And this is obviously what is actually is happening. And it's the Tories that did it. There's people coming in, illegal immigrants, say I think 1,800 just come in, and they're not being deported. So illegal immigrants, Boris is talking about a points-based immigration system. I don't think the Tories have got any sort of point of actually doing a points-based immigration system, because they're still letting illegal immigrants come in and not deporting them. And Katie Hopkins also did a thing where they're actually being offered houses, council houses, all sorts of other accommodation and social security for these illegal crossings, which is also happening down across the Mediterranean, which the globalists like Soros, etc., have actually identified. So, I mean, it's just incredible. So it's really the Tories could put a stop to this, but because Nigel didn't beat the Tories, which they could have, that change would have made a hell of a difference in the UK, a change in the type of people who were running this. Because Nigel stood down, which is understandable, to come out of the EU, that he empowered the people who took us into the EU. The Tories are a globalist party. They're not a conservative party. They're a corporatist globalist party, very much like the Democrats in the United States. They are following the corporatist globalist agenda, where regulations are piled on small businesses to make them uncompetitive, and creating oligopolies or monopolies in sectors where, because of a lack of start-up funds, stage 1 and stage 2 financing for start-up companies, what else? over-regulation to prevent people getting into markets. This is deliberately done to prevent competition, and this ends up being a corporatist market. Only through the defeat in actual true capitalism will the reduction, especially for start-up companies, of regulation and access to finance, will that increase employment, increase opportunity, and it will generate growth and wealth in the actual country. But I mean, even when you look at the so-called Scottish National Party, the Scottish National Party want to take back control from Westminster and give it to the unelected commissioners in Brussels. So how's that nationalism? How's that even taking back control to give it to an unelected bunch? If there was a choice between staying in the unelected EU, where the commissioners are dictating a legislation, and staying in Westminster, at least at Westminster they have an accountability because they're democratically elected. The EU commissioners who are dictating your legislation are appointed, not elected, just like the other globalists in the European Union. So, and what do? I mean, they use organisations to like Reach UK PLC, who have got multiple media titles, to criticise, to lambast, to make up false claims. And then the legal situation is you can't get a lawyer to prosecute them. You can't even get into court. I've not been able to get into court once for things that have happened to me. The lawyers have decided that I'm not able to bring forward a case, or they're not prepared to represent me. I'm not even going in front of a judge for them to decide on whether I've got merits in my case, because the lawyers have already decided that I'm not getting access to the law. So there has to be an overhaul of the Scottish judicial system, probably the British or the English judicial system as well. But if you continue to vote for the Tories, it's the Tories that are the globalists as well. Every one of the mainstream political parties are globalists. The SNP globalist, the Tories are globalist, even though they had to move because of Nigel, and the Brexit party, before that UKIP. Only because of these parties did the Tories move out of their globalist position, but they're still got open door immigrations. People are still walking into the country, and illegal immigrants are still not being deported. So by that term, 1,800 just crossed the channel in 1 month. And it doesn't matter if you're going to bring in a points-based immigration policy when you've got an open door immigration policy and people are coming in and displacing the indigenous population. De facto ethnic cleansing back through open door immigration. No protection of the individual. And then what you've got is the left, who are bringing in identity politics. David Lammy talking about identity politics, when in his constituency it was 90 or 100% white just in the 1950s, and now it's down to 30%. So they've just been cleared out of Tottenham. There's very few. That will soon be completely ethnically cleansed of white people in Tottenham, where David Lammy is the terrible MP for them. So it doesn't. And David Lammy's not once said what happened to my white constituents, because he doesn't care. He's just a race grifter, and there is no protection for white straight males. Every other minority, the Labour Party are just protecting other minorities based on Marx's Jewish question, where back at that time he said that the Jews were being oppressed. And I don't know if they were or not in the 19th century in Germany, but by the time the 20th century they certainly rolled on, they certainly were being oppressed. So, and I'm sure, knowing finance to do, the Jews were in charge of banking. So there must have been some very successful Jewish people in Germany. I mean, one of the Rothschild brothers was over there, and they set up a German bank as well. But I couldn't set up a bank here because they've over-regulated it. They've got capital adequacy laws. So I'm denied the ability in my own country to actually set up a business because they've over-regulated it. So there should be no regulation for start-up companies until you actually get the business actually up and running and it's functional. There should be maybe a moratorium in that. If you can't start up a business with nothing, then that's obviously going into corporatism. And the failure of our judicial system to protect the small businessman and woman is absolutely disgusting. So that'll change as well. That's got to change what we're talking about as well. But the SNP are not a nationalist party. They are a globalist party and also probably a Marxist party. I mean, the SNP are just Labour light, and Alan Smith talking about databases of people who are on their databases of that don't like them or were aggressive towards them. This is just Orwellian from the SNP, Orwellian. And I don't think that that's the sort of thing that I certainly bought into from what the SNP were, and certainly were like this under Alex Salmond. I think Nicola Sturgeon is a Marxist and a globalist, and I don't think that she is. She's already said she's not a nationalist, as if Marx was exactly somebody after 100 million deaths worldwide, that Marx was somebody to emulate. But again, back into the Jewish question. So Marx wrote the Jewish question and said the Jews were oppressed. I'm reading through it and it says that they weren't oppressed by legislation. So this, I think, where the microaggressions and things like that. But what they've done is now they've said that women have been oppressed, but some women haven't been oppressed, or that LGBT people have been oppressed, and some of them haven't been oppressed either. So they just now make full groups of people to get them on board for their underlying Marxism. And Marx has never worked anywhere. That sort of socialism, central planning, doesn't work. It's never worked, and we've seen it later lead to the death of 100 million people. So what they're doing is, but if you're a white male, that you don't have any protections, specific protections under the law. So you're allowed to be discriminated against, even though that you're a minority as well. And pretty much built the place that you're now being displaced from through the use of globalist bodies that are not accountable. And this is being backed up. The SNP are a globalist party. Plaid Cymru are a globalist party. The Watermelons, the Green Party, are a globalist party. They're talking about anybody being able to vote if they've just come over here and had a scotch, and then they're able to vote in the elections. So you can be completely displaced in your own country. As one of my other videos said, that I wasn't able to get even housing in an area where the Ballantines have came from hundreds of years, and I'm now got to prove that I've actually got a connection with the area because of the SNP. That's the fakeness of the SNP, but they're just a globalist party. And who else? The illiberal, liberal and democratic Democrats, also a globalist party. The Labour Party are now just a party for ethnic minorities, women, especially the feminazis who are, or we shouldn't call them feminazis. This is the woke culture. This is Marxism. It's the new socialism is, or the new wokeness is Marxism. And it all stems from Marx. And Marxism has killed, as him and Friedrich Engels, who advocated genocide, have killed 100 million people. That's why they don't want feminism, because it's a nice word, but the underlying aspects of the feminism is Marxism. Same with the globalist opinions for them, that they want open borders, because nobody who understands what this underlying ideology is ever going to vote for a Labour Party that's Marxist. And that's what they are just now. I don't think Sir Keir Starmer, who may well win it, I might have been wrong, and Long Island Iced Tea might not have the support, because she's a bit dolly. The fact is that Sir Keir Starmer might actually win. And just as bad as anybody else. There isn't anything that's progressive, or sorry, I was going to progress politics or get back the red wall, because he's just another London globalist. So he apparently was in the same organisation. I think it was the Trilateral Commission. Only 400 people on this globalist body with Epstein, and also the ex-owner Maxwell of Reach PLC. So I mean, this is the Sir Keir Starmer is just another globalist shill. So I mean, that's very, very, very worrying that you don't have a choice. And even the Tories are a globalist party. The Tories have actually always been a globalist party. It's them that's letting in the mass immigration. It's them that's doing the displacing. And the fact that we think that they've changed their spots because they do good sound bites, but they don't actually implement what they say they're going to implement. And that's the worrying thing. They talk a good game and then don't implement it, which I think Boris is doing already. Boris and Nicola aren't that really far apart. They're both on the globalist agenda, and the globalist agenda is to displace the indigenous population through the use of mass immigration. So even if Boris brought in the points-based immigration system, if you're allowing open people just to walk in and not deporting illegal immigrants, then it doesn't matter if you've got a points-based immigration system, because you've got to basically de facto open borders. So I think that to expect a change, sorry if that's blue just now, to expect a change from the Tories, who actually produced the problems in the first place, to me is absolutely incredible. We were very close. If Nigel had continued to do or break the back of the Conservatives with the Brexit Party, we might have got something, a different type of politics in Westminster. But unfortunately, we've just got the same, and we're not going to see any changes until a political party other than the Lib Lab Con, SNP, Greens, somebody else with a different set of ideals. Even the Conservative Party back Marxists' protection of minorities, but we're not protecting white males. They can just twist. The white women, women are protected, but white men, there's no protection for them whatsoever, and they can just twist an academic wind, or not the academic wind, and the academic wind. And this is coming out of academia as well. The people have been placed in academia to purport this Marxist ideology, which is also globalist. Right, my baby gorillas, you know I love you.